Hey, Katrina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're working on a festive gift bag for the holiday season. And this one is going to be sort of a rustic, masculine looking bag that I'm going to use for my son's gift. This is also for the challenge over at the Outlaws Paper a la Mode. And I invite you to join us there, where the theme is anything but a card, plus you need to add snow. So we're going to take a look at this bag and see how we're going to add snow to this wonderful paper with the reindeer. So I'm going to be using some double score tape here, and it's really wide, and I don't need it that wide, and I'm going to give you a tip on that later on in the video. Some fabric tack, as well as some of this embossing powder, Enchanted Gold, some Pearlustre, and it is the color Champagne. Then I have a little mixing tub there and a piece of scrap paper, and I'm going to show you, we're going to use that scrap paper like a funnel later on because we're going to mix those embossing powders. I also have some little red gems, and I also have these black bursts from Close to My Heart, as well as a snowflake panel and some black shimmer tape and a snowflake tag cut from the Close to My Heart cartridge. I believe it's Artbooking, but I'll leave all of that information below. Then here is my actual bag cut. I have a front and a back and two side pieces, and this cut is from SVG, Happy Holidays SVG kit, and again I have that linked below. I'm going to start by making the tag because this is real simple. I'm just using some Zig two-way glue, and I'm just going to put this little red snowflake onto the offset piece that I cut in Cricut, and I'm going to lay a stamp block on top just to let that sort of settle down over there. Now this little piece I put together with a snowflake border onto a long rectangle. I did this in Cricut Design Space. And some of the little pieces didn't punch out, so I just used my piercing tool and just pushed them out. No problem. I'm pressing the little snowflakes into my Versamark ink, and now I'm going to mix up that embossing powder that we talked about. So I already have in there just some champagne colored. I'm going to go ahead and open up this little container that I have, this little tub, and I'm going to use the little paper as a funnel to go ahead and add some of this Enchanted Gold in there. It's Ranger, I believe, and again I'll list it in the box below. And once I have it all together, I'm going to shake it up. Now this gold needs to be shaken quite frequently because I'm trying to come up with the right word. The really sparkly glitter part of that powder sort of rises to the top or something, and you'll see that it kind of tries to stick to itself and stay on its own. So you really want to keep shaking. You'll notice when I shake this card off, okay, now I'm going to put it back in the tub, you will see that those sparkles stay on the card there. And I have to get those kind of separately, and there they all are then on the top. So again, I'll just shake it every time I use it just to try to keep that kind of dispersed evenly. Now, one thing about embossing that you may or may not know is you can do this as many times as you want. You can put this on, shake it off, and you can do it again and again and again until you hit all the spots. Then you can heat it. But then you can actually, if you miss a spot and you're doing a big thing like this, you can go and press that little spot back into that ink and then pour some more of that powder over and do it again. Now, if you do the whole thing a second time, it turns out very glossy looking. I did not want a big glossy look on this, but I did sort of do it a second time. Now I'm sort of going from the back because sometimes that straightens out your cardstock a little bit. I decided I wanted a little bit of red, so I measured and cut, and now I'm going to come in and put some of this score tape on the back. Now I'm going to take a single-edged razor blade and I'm going to cut about halfway. Now, yes, I could go through and do this with a pair of scissors and cut a strip by strip by strip, but this makes it really simple. It just comes off the roll this way. Please be careful if you're not used to working with single-edged razor blades. I work with them daily, so I'm not too concerned about it. But if you're not used to working with them, you would be safer probably just to go ahead and buy the size of tape that you use. But if you're into some kind of work where you use them all the time, this is a way to save a few pennies because you can get more tape for your money when you buy the bigger, the wider reels of tape. So again, I'm just going to tape that on, and I've used a little bit of fabric tack. That way I can move it around. Now I'm adding some of the Close to My Heart black shimmer trim. I'm going to go ahead and tear that off so it's a little bit longer and just wrap around the edges so that it just wraps around and the edges look a little more finished that way. I'm going to go ahead and add a second strip at the bottom border right next to the snowflake. So there's a lot of sparkle on this card. But since it's black and gold with that deep red and the reindeer, I still think it looks very masculine. I'm going to take these black bursts, and I thought they looked like little black snowflakes, and I placed those on, and you'll see those on the bag a little later on. All right, we're going to go ahead and put these scores in. Now, you probably saw on the other side that the Cricut put score marks in. They just weren't very deep. And I'm using some pretty heavy cardstock here. So I'm going ahead and I'm double checking to make sure that my score lines are matching up to where I think they should be. So I'm marking them on the correct side. Then when I turn them over, I can see them. I can line them up on my 6-inch mark on my scoreboard and put them in nice and heavy. And then I can burnish them in. Now, you might wonder, well, why the 6-inch mark? Well, I actually took my black marker and I marked down that 6-inch mark. You can barely tell it on the video, but in real life, I can see that, and I can see it all the way down. So I can definitely tell where I'm going and making sure that I'm staying on track. Now, these sides actually have a front and back. And the front is going to be the side that it doesn't have that little divot in it. And that little divot creates a place where I can fold that bag for storage. All right, so we have a second side, and I'm not going to show that, but you're going to score it the same way. And now I'm going to score the back, and the back then has 3 score lines. So it has the bottom, and again, I'm going from the wrong side because it just makes it easier to fold over. Marking it on the correct side so I know exactly where I'm going, because for some reason the score line just shows up on that front. It did not show up on the back side because my cardstock is so thick. And here I'm doing the same thing. I'm just marking it, but I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to mark it from the wrong side so that it will fold in very easily. And I'm going to go ahead and burnish those in with my bone folder. All right, so now it is time to kind of go over those edges just on the front and back piece so we don't have white edges. You can do this by using a coordinating ink, and you can either apply it with a sponge, that's one way to do it, or you can just take the stamp pad itself, open it up, and just rub it across. And, you know, they do give a little different look. The sponge sort of gets it over on the sides a little bit, and the stamp pad does not. I just wanted to show you both ways in the video. I'm going to come in now and go ahead and add my score tape to all of the tabs. and you're going to have tabs all the way around the sides and bottom of the side pieces. And on your front and back piece, you're only going to have them at the bottom. Now, you're looking at this going, ooh, how'd that get so messed up on the back? All right, I'm going to tell on myself. I was using my score tape, and let me tell you, this stuff really grabs. And I had a bag all put together, and I dropped some of the tape onto the front of the bag, and when I went to take it off, it ripped that bag. So I had to recut that and refilm that. So I did salvage this piece, okay? I salvaged this, but the actual fronts and backs I did not salvage. However, I did not throw them away. I saved them to use the paper and possibly the front of a card or some tags. But as for the front of the bag, it was toast. It was gone. So anyway, I told myself, it happens. It does. It happens to all of us. So I've put my little border here on the front. And now I'm getting ready to put this on, and it's like, wait, stop, whoa. I just about tried to put the back onto the front. There is a front and back side to these. Remember, the little notch side goes on the back of the bag. So I caught it, though, before I did it. I laid it aside, grabbed the other one, and went ahead and got that. Now, here's a great example of why I use fabric tack over that tape. I just told you how incredibly fast that tape grabs. I would have no wiggle room, right? So when I put the fabric tack over, it gives me a little bit of wiggle room, and I can adjust to make sure that it fits in there. So I'm going to match up the top and the bottom folds here. Got a little glue happy there, so I'm wiping off that glue. A little extra fabric tack. It doesn't hurt a thing. You just wipe it off, and when it dries, it's not a big deal. Now there's my front and back, and you'll notice that there are different lines that we line up here. We line up the front, the top, and the bottom, but then there's that one that's about a third or a quarter of the way up. So you want to make sure you match up all those folds as you glue this into place. Now here's the place where we need to add a little bit of this score tape to the back of the bag here. And we're going to do that, and then we're going to add it to the bottom of the front of the bag. My apologies, I didn't get this part filmed. To put in the bottom of the box, you just simply cut a rectangle, and it does come with the bag, but I just cut my own rectangles, and I usually cut them out of cereal box. That way they're nice and heavy and secure. So I just cut 2 pieces of cereal box, glue them together, put some white on the top, and then glue that onto the bottom of the box. Now it's time to get the handles on, and this ribbon came from my stash, and there was just enough to get that on. But first, here's a still shot of the inside of the box, so you can see the white where I put the white on top of the 2 cereal box layers. Okay, back to the ribbon here that I'm using. Like I said, only enough to get 2 handles and barely that much. So what I'm doing is I'm putting it through, and I'm knotting really close to the edge. And that way I will actually get 2 handles out of this. But it was going to be really tight, so that's why I keep pushing that knot to the end as far as I can. I just want to get the knot big enough that it won't slip through the holes. And that's really the only goal there is there. Now that I have my handles in place, it's time to work on my tag. And you'll remember that we already have the tag all done. We just need to punch a little hole in it. And I'm going to run some raffia through it. And it's sort of a gold raffia. And then tie that off, add a little red gem. And hey, we are done with this project. Thanks so much for staying with me through this video. This bag is a lot of fun to make. I've used this pattern several times, and I can manipulate the size, and it always works out great. I've never had a problem with it at all. Great paper too, so much fun. I will leave all the information for you below, and you can leave any comments or questions. If you enjoyed this video, you can give me a thumbs up or subscribe if you like, and I will catch up with you in the next video. Bye.